There is a strange kind of energy in Islamabad tonight, one that comes from waiting for something that may happen and at the same time knowing that it is just as easily may not. Because the city is ready, the venue is ready, the delegations are expected, and yet the signals coming in are still mixed, still incomplete, still uncertain, leaving Pakistan caught between anticipation and ambiguity as it prepares for talks that have not yet been fully confirmed. What makes this moment unusual is not just the diplomacy, but the atmosphere around it. Because Islamabad is not operating in isolation, it is under observation, with foreign media arriving in numbers, moving through the city, trying to understand what is unfolding, speaking to officials, watching for signals, and at the same time, absorbing a version of Pakistan that is very different from the one that usually dominates international headlines, which in itself tells you something about how this country is being seen at the moment. The contrast is striking because for once the conversation is not about instability, not about crisis, not about the familiar narratives that have defined Pakistan's image abroad for years, but about its role in high-stakes diplomatic effort, and about whether it can hold together a process that involves two adversaries who are still not fully committed to sitting across the table. At the official level, the messaging remains cautious, with the Foreign Office measured and restrained, careful not to get ahead of events and careful not to confirm what is not yet confirmed, which is exactly what you would expect in a situation where the outcome is still fluid and where a single shift in position could change the entire trajectory of what is being attempted. Outside that official calm, however, there is a clear sense of movement, curiosity, and expectation, with Islamabad, at least for this moment, becoming a focal point for something much larger than itself, which is not a position that Pakistan finds itself in very often. So the question we need to ask tonight is not simply whether talks will happen, but what this moment actually represents for Pakistan. Is Islamabad truly at the center of a diplomatic breakthrough in the making, or is it, for now, the stage on which expectations are being projected ahead of reality? And how should we read the gap between the visible buzz in the capital and the near silence coming from official channels? So to discuss this, we are joined today by two of the most well-informed journalists in Islamabad. They've been covering the story since it began, then it started. And of course, because there is so much happening in Islamabad, both in terms of hosting the first round of talks, and then also the second round, which was about to happen, didn't happen, and now behind the scenes diplomacy that Pakistan is doing. So a lot of things that were visible in Islamabad, but perhaps more things that are being done behind closed doors. So to get a sense of where things stand today from Islamabad, I'm joined by Mr. Shaukat Piracha, one of the most well-known journalists of Pakistan, who covers foreign policy very closely and does his own talk show on Aaj television. And Sumaira Khan, also one of the most well-known journalists, reporters, covers the defense and foreign policy beat, currently works for Sama television. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Virat Sahab, you have your nose on the ground. You are very knowledgeable in terms of what senior people, important people are thinking, because they speak to you quietly. So what is the sense that you're getting? We were so close to having the Americans and the Iranians here for the second round. Then it didn't happen. So what is the sense you're getting of what's going on in Islamabad?
Thank you so much, sir, for your graciousness and your generosity. Since I'm here for the first time in your show,
Welcome.
So I'm wishing all the best for your channel, for yourself. As we speak now, at least Pakistan is doing maximum. Tomorrow, whatever happens, the day after tomorrow, whatever happens, at least as a Pakistani, I wouldn't have any regrets to say that, oh, I have done, if I would have done this, had I done this, it would have been done like this, you know. So this fury of operations over there is stopped. Epic fury is no more. Whose efforts? Pakistan's efforts. Because that night when President Trump tweeted that tomorrow civilization will die, that night we all were awake. All mean all. We journalists, the policymakers and those who were in touch with them. And it was the request of the Prime Minister of Pakistan that President Trump acknowledged, and he announced that, okay, ceasefire for 2 weeks. And even yesterday, when he extended this ceasefire, he again acknowledged Pakistan Prime Minister and Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir Sayyid. So look at the activity. Even today, the Chinese ambassador, His Excellency Jiang Zaidong, he met today Prime Minister of Pakistan. Similarly, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar is, you know, meeting everyone, you know, who are to be players somehow in opening up Hormuz and other crises. So Pakistan is doing, and one more thing is very important, you know, both the Americans and the Iranians, who are the party in this dispute, both have a trust in Pakistan, and they express their trust publicly. For example, day before yesterday, the Foreign Minister of Iran, His Excellency Abbas Araghchi, he said Pakistan remains the only mediator. Their Foreign Office said Pakistan remains the only mediator. And President Trump, by all practical means, he is waving Pakistani flags every time, you know, every time. He is so fond of Pakistan, and that's why he wants to come to Pakistan. So these efforts are there, and maybe by nature, by instinct, I am an optimist.
Which is good.
I have not lost hopes, you know. I am very hopeful that these efforts by Pakistan, and obviously these are not efforts that I make a phone call, then I sit down that, oh, if they respond, it's okay, otherwise. No, we are pushing it, you know. As the word push is, you know, it has a connotation, we are pushing it.
That is actually, I think, the operative word, Sumaira, that Pakistan, despite the fact that I think there must be some disappointment, clearly, that talks didn't happen. But there is still some chance.
Yeah.
But in fact, I would say there's a bright chance, because President Trump said yesterday that you know, we are open to talks, and he also talked about Friday, which of course can't happen because Friday is tomorrow. But still, so as Paracha Saab is saying, that I think Pakistan is probably pushing hard to make sure that somehow they can come back. What is the sense that you're getting? What is the thinking in our policy circles?
Thank you very much, Fahd Saab. And first of all, you know, best wishes for you and Express 24/7. It's really close to my heart as well.
You worked here for so long.
So I'm getting all that nostalgia from colors and layout and everything, and from you, obviously, my first boss. So thank you very much. And it was a long journey. And the question you asked me, I'll start it with, there are a lot of things in the air. As he said, I'm still optimistic. It's a very good thing. And the thing that I'm receiving when the Field Marshal was in Tehran for 3 days, it never happened. You know, all the official visits, specifically if we, you know, we keep a very, you know, exclusive eye on the happenings. To Tehran in the past, you can correct me if I'm wrong, none of the, you know, top military bosses have spent or has spent any such time, any longer time in Tehran, and obviously in the time when he has to cross 2 no-fly zones in the current scenarios where his own life is at stake. So he was the most important person right now. So he spent that time, obviously he spent that time extracting all the feasibilities, all the possibilities to stop this, you know, unnecessary war right now, where the half of the region, or in fact 90% of the region is getting affected. Strait of Hormuz was not a point of concern for me, but when I heard that Babul Mandeb is also getting shut down because of Strait of Hormuz, this will be 2 choke points for the world right now. Pakistan has this sense that it can fall badly, worsely upon the world. So right now, if someone says Pakistan is struggling just to gain a good name, a reputation, or build up or something, no. It's not for us. We have been surviving through worst and worst, and you have seen that time.
True.
So we can survive after this as well. But the problem is, what my sense, the sense that works for me right now, The Iranian side probably right now they have to look into the affairs. They have to come to terms for their people. I'm hearing and I'm seeing a lot of visuals of destruction right from Tehran, Shiraz, Isfahan, Mashhad, and you name it. So if they have, nationalism is good. I love that. I need that sense in my people as well, that they stand united for the sake of the country. But you can't continue with a limitless war. You have to end it. So if you have to end it, Pakistan is right now the absolute choice for you. Because if we go with hands up, obviously there is no other
They have to do it at the right
country.
time. They have to do it at the right
Exactly.
time. But also, in terms of trying to convince both sides, there is a lot of activity happening in the Foreign Office. I don't think the Foreign Office has been as busy as it has been in the last couple of weeks, and every day we are hearing about the number of conversations that the Foreign Minister, Deputy Prime Minister is having with his counterparts. And of course, what we don't hear about is all the other offices in the Foreign Office doing so much work. The importance of the Quad that we have been talking about, who have been helping Pakistan, and which includes, of course, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt. You think that now that the second round is not happening and we are trying for it to happen, the role of these three other countries will also become very important in addition to Pakistan, to try and convince both the US and the Iranians to try and come back again to Islamabad?
We start from Saudi Arabia, for example. Saudi Arabia is constantly pushing these diplomatic efforts. 19th of March, they invited 12 foreign ministers over there. A declaration was there, and not necessarily that it was anti-Iranian, because they want peace. Then Turkey, for example, the 4 foreign ministers meeting that took place in Islamabad on one Sunday, maybe 30th, 31st of March, that was basically supposed to take place in Turkey. But since Pakistan is the choice of the two warring parties, that's why they came to Pakistan. Egypt has been, one country that is exposed to Israelis, that is Egypt. They have diplomatic relations. And even we saw Gaza crisis, for example. If we sent assistance for Gazans, it was through the territory of or good offices of Egypt. So Egypt has a leverage. It has a very significant positioning because of its geographical proximity with Israel. These countries basically, in this war, their diplomatic effort is there to end it. But there are other countries as well. For example, China. Day before yesterday, Chinese President Xi Jinping, who is a big actor in the international arena at the moment, he spoke to Crown Prince, His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman. And the statement read that he also talked about opening of Hormuz. So Hormuz is
That was
not
a very important
something
statement coming from him.
very important statement. And even today or yesterday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman, he also talked about that these these routes, navigation routes, they must be kept open. That means Iran is so far, what she talked about, little reluctance from Iran is they are making very clear that first open the Hormuz and then we will come. So if China is there, China having a good leverage with Iran, China is the main importer of Iranian oil.
Is the key point,
That is the key point. Secondly, I do not go 100% on these statements, because when last time the Iranian parliamentary speaker Kalibakh was coming to Pakistan, he made 2 points in his tweet. First was ceasefire in Lebanon. Second was release of assets, frozen, and he said we will only come to the negotiations if these two, and those two, demands were not met at that time. But later on, there is a ceasefire holding at the moment. Maybe tonight, there is more round of talks between Lebanon and Israel. So if we go to the statements, there is more behind the statements, in fact.
Which means essentially, from what I'm understanding, Sumaira, that obviously we will try and convince both sides to be a little bit more flexible. The Iranians are saying, and I think they have a lot of argument when they say that, first you lift the naval blockade, then we'll talk. and the US is saying first you open the Strait of Hormuz, then we talk. So now these are two fixed positions, and something will have to be done. And I think Pakistan will probably be talking to both sides and saying that, can you be a little bit more flexible? I don't know what chances there are, but I think the other option is worse.
I think I might be wrong. I think they want Pakistan to do a little more for them. Probably they want Pakistan to step up from the role of mediator or facilitator or a coordinator or a sitting place to some sort of guarantor. You remember we talked about this at the convention center as well when we were covering the talks. And probably Pakistan, for good reasons, Pakistan is hesitating to become a sort of guarantor in this situation.
And rightly so, I think.
Rightly so, because you have seen the map. The point from where Strait of Hormuz is opening actually opens. It's Pakistan's border 250 right at the behest of Iran. So the first maritime blockade point that starts from Pakistan to Ras Al Had. So they are some, I can calculate it as a concern from Iranian side as well, that some later point in time it's a fear of the Iranians that God forbid USA asks Pakistan to create another maritime blockade from that point, because obviously Pakistan is in a good shape with Americans. So I think there are fears, there are scares, but I always believe in one good thing, positive thing. Diplomacy has always a character of posturing, and there is a masking side of a diplomacy as well. They are keeping it, everything is, I won't use the word, everything is messed up, but behind the closed doors, what I'm hearing, US and Iranians have a direct link as well, through their embassies, respected embassies in Islamabad. So we are not really, hopeless. I'm thinking about some good things coming, but it should be over as soon as possible. And they should not, both the parties, they should not drag Pakistan into the role of guarantor, because the great success comes with great responsibility as well. And they should, at least when they are speaking to Twitter and X and Truth Social, anything, they should be adopting another method. They should be talking under the breath. Under the breath is talking easy when you're dealing with diplomacy, instead of so loud and so venomous towards each other.
So it's a very sensitive situation, but we all hope that hopefully sense prevails and they come back to Islamabad so we can go back to Convention Center and cover the story again. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. We'll take a short break here. When you come back, much more to come. Do stay with us.